My name is Samantha, and I'm coming to you on behalf of EPIC Tri-County CT. EPIC is empowering people and inspiring community, and we bring to you EPIC, a conscious living publication bi-monthly that is just full of inspiring and empowering educational information to help each person make more conscious decisions around the areas in their life, such as health, spirituality, and sustainability. And we have a lot of fun doing it. And there's a lot of gorgeous things in the magazine that we really enjoy bringing to you. We consist of myself, Samantha, and my co publisher, Lisa. And Lisa is in Cheshire right now working the feed, the comments. Please let us know that you're here by leaving a comment, letting Lisa know how you're doing today, and also letting me know that you're seeing me because there is no other way I know I'm live except when I see the comments. So please let us know. Today's Tuesday, May 12th. I got to give a special shout out to my mom. Happy birthday, Mom. We love you, Mimi, Grandma. Um, thank you for all that you've done and you continue to do. So happy birthday, Mom. Um, Also, as we do every day at EPIC, we want to remind each and every one of you that although we may be socially distanced, we're not separate, that we are here for you. If you're feeling isolated, if you would like prayer, to receive healing affirmations, whatever it is, a phone call, just reach out to Lisa or myself. Our contact information is in all the um, about pages and all that all over the web. We're everywhere, right? Check us out on YouTube. Just reach out because you're not alone. We're here for you. Together, we'll get through this. And together, all ships will rise. So I just want to make sure I'm not seeing any comments before I go any further. Oh, actually, let me switch my view here. All right, we're live. Yay. I am so excited to be bringing our guest on. Robin Clare is the guest today. Robin is an author, a speaker, a teacher, and a coach. And just in the past few days, we've become friends, and I'm so, so honored. So give me one moment while we bring in Robin Clare to join us for Epic. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. You're here.
Hi, Sam. I am here. Hi, Lisa in the background.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Mom. Your mom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting, you know.
hmm
I know that we might get into a little talk about mothers later, but we'll see how that
hmm
all unfolds organically. Um, Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your light. I've seen you speak and heard you speak. I have the book Messiah Within, which I love,
Yeah.
love, love, and I'm looking forward to getting the new book that we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Before we get there, though,
hmm
Robin, we talked about you being an author and a speaker and a coach and a teacher. But really, who is Robin? What do you what does your soul bring to our conscious community? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you
hmm
are?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just go back quite a few years. I spent the first half of my adulthood in corporate America, in corporate, nonprofit, um, and I have a very significant business background, but I also had this spiritual part of me that I knew I couldn't work with in corporate America at the time. Not
Mhm.
sure what's happening now, but I knew I couldn't do it then. So I stood on my deck for almost a year asking, how can I be of greater service to mankind? It didn't matter what the weather was, I asked the same question every night, and there was a being of light standing with me. And that being, I was too afraid to look or to engage. And I would come to know that the being of light standing next to me is a being that I call Rabbi Yeshua, but most people call Jesus. And he was, I don't know, maybe sitting here saying, wow, here she is. She's dedicating her life to be of divine service. So when I came out of corporate America, I became a spiritual business promoter. I had 3 centers here in the greater Hartford area. I was wonderful at producing events for others. But then Yeshua came back and said to me, what about you? And I'm like, well, what about me? I'm doing great. I'm the spiritual business promoter. And he's like, what about the teachings that you've carried into this lifetime? And that's when he asked me to write Messiah Within, a guide to embracing your inner divinity. And that book is about how we are each the Messiah of our own lives.
Mm,
And that's the goal, right? Is to live the kingdom of God resides within. He really meant that.
right, right.
Right? That here's where the divine is,
Yeah.
right? So I wrote that book, and then about 18 months later, he returned in a dream and he said, why don't you come and teach with me where I am? And I thought he was asking me to die, but what he was really asking me was, kick it up a few notches, Robin. Teach with me where I am, meaning teach at the level of the teachings that I gave you. And so I got really annoyed with myself, and I went on another 18-month journey to figure out, why wasn't I living the teachings that he so graciously shared with me? And that resulted in my second book, The Divine Keys,
Hmm.
18 Keys to a Divinely Guided Life. And I love that book for two reasons. One, it's so simple. It's like a meditative book. It's just the keys. But then I also share the book with my son Garrett, who's a photographer. So it has his beautiful nature photography. And so then I was kind of doing my thing, being a coach, being a teacher. And then one day in a healing meditation, I had this being of light walking towards me, and she was so magnificent. Oh my goodness. Her face kept shifting. She was every woman you could ever imagine, every color, every age. And I was so mesmerized by her face that it was hard for me to even just say anything. And then finally, I got myself together, and she said, I am Sophia. And I was really blown away because I knew who Sophia was. I had
Hmm.
been studying Sophia since the end of the Mayan calendar in 2012. So who is Sophia? So in Christianity, she's known as the Holy Spirit. In Judaism, she's known as the Shekhinah, and I'm sure she's known in every religion. She's the divine universal mother. So she is really, when we say the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, we're really saying the Father, the Son, and the
The
Mother.
mother.
And so she said to me, it's my turn, and I need you to write a book for me. And she said the name of the book, which is I love because both she and Yeshua give me the names of the books. She said the name of the book is Feast and Famine, Healing Addiction with Grace. She said, I have a way that we can to support I have a way to support the epidemic of addiction on the planet, and I would like you to share that on my behalf. And Sam, are you still with me? Okay, I'm going to keep going in case I'm still here and she's not. And so
I'm
I
here. Can you
Oh,
hear me
you are.
now?
I can. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
And so this is the book I wrote, Feast and for Sophia, Healing Addiction with Grace, Feast and Famine, Healing Addiction with Grace. And the thing that was so interesting about this book, Sam, is that she said to me, I want you to write this book for me to share with the world, but I also want you to talk about your addiction, Robin. Now, that was really a big request of me because I've had obsessive eating disorder and bulimia for 40 years. And very few people know about that. Just my loved ones and my closest friends. And so here she was asking me to out that,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
And in retrospect, I knew I had to out that. Otherwise, who was I to write this book? Right? Who was I to say that these spiritual teachings work in regards to addiction? But I have to be honest and say that I wrote this book twice because the first time I wrote it, I was still in addiction.
Wow, I didn't know
And
that.
at the end, yeah, at the end of the book, it was like, okay, well, here are these amazing teachings. Um, and I hope they work for you, but they didn't work for me. So have a great life. And I'm like, no, I can't release this book until I am in recovery. So I finally was able to come into recovery, probably because I was told. Sophia arrived another time with my grandmother to tell me that if I didn't, in a reading, if I didn't stop, they would die. And so, of course, I had to do it one more time because, like a alcoholic who has their last bottle of
Right.
wine, right?
Right.
And I had a terrible physical reaction to it with blood and everything. And I realized that that was it. I was done. And in recovery, and of course I have had outstanding support. I have a whole healing team. I have a mental health professional, energy healers, spiritual healers, of course, my team in the non physical realm. And so I was able to come into recovery and then rewrite the book and then also be able to hold the energy of it, right? Because I feel like I'm outing myself twice
Yeah.
here, right? Or three, I'm outing myself twice by saying that I have this addiction for 40 years, plus who I am as the divine refers to me as a divine
Okay.
emissary.
I was going to
That's
ask
the
you
term they give.
this.
That's the term that they say because I am open to writing these books on their behalf. Um, and then I also had to talk about how my parents influenced my addiction and anybody else.
And you had to put
So
it
I
out
felt like there
there.
was all of this outing going
Yep.
on, right?
Here I
And so
am.
it took me a long time to just ground my energy enough so that I could fulfill this mission. And what's interesting for me, and if there's any other authors listening, I'm not really quite sure I was holding the energy for Messiah Within and the Divine Keys either because I was in addiction then. But now in recovery, I feel like I'm holding the energy for all three of those books. And in writing Feast and Famine, Yeshua shared with me that Feast and Famine was supposed to be first, then Messiah Within, then the Divine
Okay.
Keys. But what I discovered is that I learned one of the things I learned writing the book was that we have three types of will: personal will, goodwill, and divine will. And so my divine will has always been off the charts, right? I will do whatever the divine tells me, even if everyone else in the world thinks I'm crazy.
Mhm.
My goodwill, I'm all about service. From the time I was the president of my eighth grade class, all the way to president of my senior class. Like I've always been about service. What I was lacking was personal will, the ability to serve myself. And in recovery was the only way that I came to personal will. And so, with the combination of personal will, goodwill, and divine will, I can hold the energy for my work.
All three.
All three are required.
I understand the part of the goodwill, the service, being in the ministry and being that minister. I get that serve. I've been serving too my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
The divine will. I made that step and I'm following
Mm-hmm.
my teachers and
Mm-hmm.
guides and but that personal will I still struggle with even though I've been
Mm-hmm.
clean and sober for 10 years of illegal drugs and alcohol. There's still a lot of healing that I need to do and I just had a huge aha. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes, I think that's the piece for spiritual people that comes last,
The personal will.
right? And so there's so many of us that have these incredible. I remember the divine one said to me, "Do spiritual people think that we've given them we've shown them their extraordinary lives for their own entertainment?" And they said that to me when I became a writing coach because what I love to do, part of my coaching, is to help other spiritual people tell their stories, right? Because our stories are extraordinary. And I believe that the last big push for healing for us comes in telling our story, whether it's verbally
Mm-hmm.
or, written. I don't know. We each have our own way of
Mhm.
speaking, telling our story, telling our truth. But I think in really looking back at everything that happened in retrospect, what do they say? Um, Hindsight is
Right,
2020,
right.
right? When you go back and look at that, I believe that you not only get the healing that you really need, but you get the healing with others who you may not have been able to forgive in the past.
So, as an addict myself, looking forward to getting this book. We talked about it. It's available on
Hmm.
Amazon and through Fundly. And um, so, within it, can you just give us a synopsis? Does it take it through the addiction story and offer the keys, as you had mentioned in the Divine Keys? How is the book laid out? Um,
Yeah, yes. So the book is interesting. Well, first of all, the cover is so beautiful. You showed that before. And that was done by George Herrick, who is a wonderful spiritual artist recovery coach here in Hartford and a friend of mine for so many years. And so I knew he had to be part of the book. So it starts out with his artist statement and then the introduction, right? I mean, the preface of the book, how Sophia came to me. But there's so many different pieces of this book that I find so interesting. So, how does the book begin? One particular night, I was so obsessively eating. Oh my gosh, I must have went to the kitchen 30 times. I'm right marching back and forth in front of my husband. I'm thinking, why isn't he saying something to me? Like, what are you doing? How could you eat so much? Not to be disparaging, but he knows that I have this disorder. So I thought, well, maybe he can save me tonight, right? Mm-mm. No, and then I got upstairs and I went through this whole tormenting of myself. Should I purge? Should I not purge? What should I do? Am I too fat? Did I eat bad things? What happened? And so finally I couldn't stop it. And I went through this purging episode, and then I came in and then I felt terrible, and then I was tossing and turning, and I was felt so self-humiliated. And then all of a sudden Sophia arrives in my room and she said, instead of complaining to yourself about this, why don't you write about it? And she said, and I want you to start with, what is a ritual? I want you to look that up in the dictionary and write the definition of a ritual, and then I want you to tell what just happened tonight. So that's how the book
wow.
begins, with a bulimic episode for
Yeah.
me. And then the book weaves in things on bulimia, but also a lot on just other forms of
Right.
addiction. And from my world, what I found is that I think we all have a pattern of trauma that we've experienced our entire life that we are trying to run away from, or hide from. And I think we have to look for that pattern. So for me, my pattern was humiliation. And I have been humiliated so many times in my life. And I think for me, it was um, I was had such a fear of persecution from past lives as a spiritual teacher that I just set myself up for this humiliation so I could heal from
Mhm.
it. It became my upper limit belief in my life that if I actually shared this information with people, I would be humiliated. And so once I was able to see that I could clear this humiliation pattern, then I could, um, sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of that. I could then, I could then move forward. So we talk a lot about patterns, and then we just talk. And so then Sophia came in with her healing modality, which is four spiritual teachings that need to be used together. And so the first teaching is that pain is
Mhm.
inevitable. And what does that mean? Well, we're an integrated system of mind, body, spirit, and emotion. We're not getting out of this like death and taxes. We're going to have pain in our life, right? We're not getting out of this. So then the next spiritual teaching that she talks about is suffering is an option. And that typically blows people away for two reasons. One, she says Sophia said that there really is only one primary addiction on this planet, and that's to suffering. And then we pick our secondary addictions, our poison, right? So she spends a lot of time in the book talking about suffering. This is huge because we are suffering. And we think that it's required. If we have pain, we must have suffering. And that's why she says suffering is an option, right? And so there's a lot of teachings about that in the book. Then the next one is surrender is required. I love this one. And in the book, they had me include the surrender when I was in addiction and the surrender when
Oh,
I
wow.
was in recovery,
Wow.
because I was like this whiny child surrendering the first
Uh-huh.
time, right? And then I was this maybe more mature, recovered person. The difference was
I can relate
extraordinary.
to that.
And
Definitely.
and so when she says surrender is required, she's not like, oh God, I don't want to do this
Yeah.
anymore. That's not
No.
surrender.
No.
No, everyone on this call knows when you've really surrendered something. I have had
I know.
enough. I am never going to do this again, ever, right?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
surrender, right?
Yep.
And then the last one is grace must be allowed.
Mm,
Sophia says that if you can't remember Sophia, know that she is grace.
I love that.
And she awakens the grace within us, and then she brings opportunities to us for additional grace from other sources.
Wow.
But it must be allowed. So what does that mean, Sam? What it means is that, we've gotten a lot of tension from suffering
Mm-hmm.
and being in
Mm-hmm.
pain. Do we really want to surrender and then have grace and have the life that we've dreamed of? Some people don't feel that they're worthy of
Right.
it,
Right. And
right? So,
self-sabotage and,
mhm,
all
yeah,
that
all of
stuff.
it.
Mm.
Hmm. And so she comes in and she says she'll know when we really are ready to receive the grace, right? And um, and then Yeshua comes back and says, "Hey, something's missing from the book." Great, thought I was done, but he says that we have to become congruent and whole in our lives, right? We have to find what makes us whole. What are all the different pieces of our life that brings us complete love and understanding of our lives? And then the last part of the book, being in recovery for a year or less when I was writing this, I really felt like maybe we should hear from other people that have been in recovery for 20 to 30 years, but are also spiritual. So I sent out a survey and I got wonderful results. I asked the same 10 questions, and they all answered. And some of my questions were really like challenging to them because they didn't recover under the Sophia plan.
Okay. Right. 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 Yeah.
Right? They recovered however they recovered. And so I was asking them questions based on Sophia's divine healing path. And could they believe that they were ever really suffering, that that's what they were actually addicted to? And so there's a lot of good answers there. Um, and I guess the thing that they left me with that has made the most profound impact on me is that every one of them said they'd never change a thing
Yeah.
about their lives
Yeah.
because they wouldn't be the person they are today without having lived their traumas out
Right.
loud, right?
I agree.
Right, through their
Yeah.
addiction.
I've always said that with my own addiction, that and I wouldn't change a moment of it. It wouldn't, because if you do, it just doesn't. I believe it would. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be the person
Mm-hmm.
I am today. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be the energetic being, the loving being that I am
Yeah.
today. So yeah, I look back and I actually thank my journey. Thank you for
Yeah.
bringing me through the hell, um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to what I consider now is grace. I have a lot of work to do, and I'm looking forward to diving into the book. Um,
Yeah.
so, what we're going to do, Robin, as we begin to wrap up, we're putting your website in the feed. We're going to
Thank
include
you.
that throughout our Facebook pages. This YouTube, everybody will be uploaded this video will be uploaded to YouTube so you can rewatch it. Please share it with someone that you know is actively in addiction or not, if they're in recovery, because this book, I feel what Robin brings encompasses everything about life, whether it is an addiction that we commonly know about, alcohol, drugs, bulimia, or it could be just the addiction to the suffering. Like you said, that's the self sabotage.
Well, yes. And the secondary addictions are so much more
Yeah,
expanded now. I mean, it could be Facebook or any form of social media or
gaming.
being in a relationship, gaming, being in a relationship that doesn't serve you, right? All of these things are what we choose to perpetuate the suffering. And Jessica Sophia shared too that since bulimia is basically mostly a woman's issue, there are 3.3 million women that we know of in the United States. A lot of that purging is about purging the pain of the suffering. And so if you've had issues with food addictions, this is why we're trying to purge all of the suffering that we've carried for many lifetimes. And so whatever you're doing, the idea is to look at why are you suffering? And if you can really get a handle on that, and I'd be happy to help people with that in my private coaching. If you can get a handle on why you're suffering, and it's almost like it's right in front of your face, but you can't see it because we have these patterns. The patterns, look back on your childhood, your teenage years, your adult life, see the pattern,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what you're holding on
Mm-hmm.
to,
Yep.
right? And when you can let go of the pattern, then you can allow that you can go from suffering to surrender and allow the grace in. And will there be pain in life? Of
Right.
course. Hey, that's the way
Yep.
it is. It's not just us. There are a lot of people. There's a lot of things. There's coronavirus. And just one more thing. If you're isolating and you're having a difficult time, know that you're never alone, right? No, go inside even if you have to. If there's no physical people around, go inside. Find your inner divinity and know that we will get through this. And if you're having a problem maintaining your recovery and you're moving towards your substances, really ask yourself, what do I really need? Maybe I need to reach out to someone. Maybe I don't need that extra brownie in my
Yes.
case. What do you really need? And then say, wouldn't I feel so much better if I reached out to someone versus eating a second brownie or had that extra drink or whatever you're doing. So reach out, stay connected. That's the first thing you said, Sam, and I think it's probably what we should leave with is that staying connected is the
Yeah.
key.
Yeah. Thank
Mm.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We are
You're
so
welcome.
honored and grateful that you're here. And
Hmm.
I know this journey we've connected in the past, and it's only just begun. So
Yes,
thank
for
you,
sure.
thank you, thank you.
Thank
And
you. Thank you very
to
much.
reiterate what Robin said, yeah, we close each one with stay healthy,
Hmm.
um, stay home, stay
Hmm.
you, and stay tuned because another day is dawning. And peace out, Epic Scout.
Peace out. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much, Robin.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sam. Take care.